Hare Krishna. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna-vrishthaya Bhutale Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaha. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charani Nirviseshi Shunni Paschatya Deshakarani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna. Yesterday there was some problem with internet connection. Hopefully today it will be nice. We could not continue the class today. Hopefully Krishna will be merciful. So we are discussing how time it creates imbalance in the modes, and because of which the there will be all this creation that is happening. And basically it happens because of mode of passion. And also we saw Maitreya's telling, learned with no. So far I explained to you the glory of the form of personality God in a feature of Kala. Because this is the creation that happens, like just now we heard. Now hear from me about the creation Brahma, the reservoir of all Vedic knowledge. Now the creator, he should have mode of passion also, along with mode of along with some knowledge. So that is the most important aspect. So here we see, Brahma is creating this five types of ignorance. This is what actually we were discussing yesterday. To enjoy, we need ignorance. Otherwise, we will not be able to enjoy. That is the most important criteria for enjoying in this material world. Any enjoyment is filled with ignorance. So because of ignorance, what comes is these are the things. There will be engagements like self-deception, sense of death, anger out of frustration, the sense of false ownership, illusory bodily conceptions, or forgetfulness of consideration. It starts from here, where to first we should get is bodily conception, because of which we get false ownership, the sense of false ownership, and then other things will follow: self-deception, sense of death, and anger after frustration. So very simple to understand. You strongly identify, then we say this is mine, this is me, and I am this. And then next is there is deception. And because there is deception, there will be frustration and there will be death. So the sequence is very simple. Before the factual creation, the living entity in different varieties of species, the conditions under which a living being in the material world has to live, were created by Brahma. Unless a living entity forgets his real identity, it is impossible for him to live in the material condition of life. So this is the first thing. So what happens? Unless a living entity forgets his real identity, it is impossible for him to live in the material conditions of life. That means I have to imagine I am something, otherwise it is difficult. This is what is given. We are all given some identity. You are a engineer, you are a doctor, you are this, you are that. And what important is, false ego is it is actually the impetus for action. That is the reason all the samskaras are performed. Samskaras give what? False ego. Say a boy, he was given Upanayana samskara, a Brahman thread ceremony. Now, after that, he will be told, now you are a brahmachari. He should be neat and clean, he should wake up early morning, and all these standards. So now immediately start identifying himself, that false ego, which will help him to do certain actions. Say a boy and girl are brought, then they are told, okay, now he's your husband, she's your wife, and both are given this false ego, and both of them start acting like that. So unless a living entity, now there is false identity. It impossible for metal condition. Therefore, the first condition of metal existence is forgetfulness of one's own identity, and it is given false identity. And forgetting one's real identity, one is sure to be afraid of death. Sure to be. Because now, whatever identity we got now, it's all temporary. It's anyway going to go. And that will such a painful thing. Means we are paying for something which is not worth. That's the problem. Although pure living soul is deathless and birthless, this false identification with material nature is the cause of false ownership. So we have false identification, then there is death, and then there is false identification, which causes the false ownership of things which are offered by arrangement of superior control. Now we cannot get on our own. Somebody should arrange for us. Krishna only arranges things also. Very, very frustrating and unfortunate situation for many of the living entities. For no reason we are suffering. All material resources are offered to the living entities for his peaceful living and for the discharge of the duties of self-realization in the conditions life. So all material resources are offered to living entities for his peaceful living for the discharge of his duties of self-realization condition life. So this arrangement is made to get self-realization, but somehow it does not happen like that. We get distracted very fast. That's the reason Lord has to come. He has to send his confidential associates, and he has to send the scripture so that we don't get distracted. But due to false identification, the conditioned souls becomes entrapped by the sense of false ownership of the property of the Supreme Lord. Even though it is Lord's, we write our name in front of the houses. Previously, it was like that so much. People used to have boards in front of. Now they don't put much boards. It's there in the apartment down only. But it is like that. It is evident from this verse that Brahma himself is a creation of the Supreme Lord, and that the five kinds of nescience which condition the living entity in the metal existence are created by Brahma. Now, what Brahma has to create first is very simple. You just have to create 5 times of ignorance, and rest everything is taken care. That means Brahma himself should not be affected, all these things, because he is creating. Still, he gets affected with something superior to this. That is the point. What Brahma got affected must be much more powerful than this type of ignorance. That means there is some other forces apart from this which can which can make a person get bewildered in this world. Apart from Brahma can create illusion. Like many people can create, like mother can create illusion for the child. Mother also can create. What type of illusion she creates for the child? She wants the child to take a medicine. She'll put something else inside, covers it with some sweet, puts in the mouth. And our mother will show some sound. She will tell, I'll do this, I'll do this. She will try to control. Somebody will come now. Don't go there. Don't do this. So she will scare her or give some other things and make her do such activities. It is mother's illusion for the child. And then same thing. The politicians keep the subjects on the state in illusion by promising some things, by doing some things, and people some people all these militants and all, they are kept in illusion by their leaders. They are also promised certain things, and they are told you will go to heaven and you will get some, what do you say, apsaras or whatever. And then they are into illusion and then they follow. All these advertisements are keeping people in illusion. Movies are keeping in illusion. So everybody has a power to keep other person to some extent in illusion. But greatest illusion is from Brahma. But even Brahma can be illusion by something else also. It is simply ridiculous to think that living entity is to be equal with the supreme being. When one can understand the conditioned souls are under the influence of Brahma's magic wand, is the most powerful person. Patanjali also accesses this five consciousness mentioned here, right? But this is actually what is happening, unfortunately, to all living entities in this world. We are so this false ego is so much. We identify false ego. Then first thing what happens? Two things. First is fear of death. Then false proprietorship. Then what happens? Then we have two more things is deception and frustration. Last one is frustration. So these are the five things that happens. With false ego comes because I'm identifying, I lose it. So there is that. I'm identifying that identity is false proprietorship. And then there is deception. There is because I don't get the way I want. And this is all what happens to all living entities. दृष्ट्वा प्रापीयसीं शिष्टं नात्मानं भव अमन्यत भगवद्धा ध्यानपूतेन मनस्वीर्यां ततो सृजत्. Seeing such a misleading creation as a sinful task, Brahma did not feel much pleasure in his activity and therefore purified himself by meditating on the personality of God. Then he began another term of creation. So even Brahma felt, my God, what happened? I am keeping into so much illusion. Because what happens? This illusion, not only just illusion, it also causes pain. Like we say, now, there is so much suffering is there, so much suffering is there. And even if we see some living entity are unhappy, even when we see some people are so much because of the so many reasons we see on the road, there are some beggars, some people are so miserable. You go to some hospital or some people are so much crying. It looks very touching. We feel very sad that why so much suffering is there. So how much Brahma must be feeling because he created it. At least we didn't create suffering for these people. We know somebody suffering and we try to help them by giving some donations or some things we do sympathize, talk. Like I was in temple and then one person came, one family, and they were talking and they introduced me, Projit, this family, they came and their son was having some problem. He is actually mentally challenged, and then he's having some eye problems. They're getting operated to that eye, and the doctors cheated, and then they have to spend so much more money to get another big hospital. And they are trying to tell all this thing to me. Just first time I met, I was feeling so sad for how how much they are undergoing so much pain and means they cannot every time that responsibility that burden is there behind their back. So it's just seeing only I felt so sad. My God, what is suffering? And then Brahma who created, can imagine how much he must be feeling because he wanted to. The purpose of it is to help living entities come out. That's why he has to create the proper rating. Although he created the different influence of another thing is he purified himself by meditating on personality of God. This is also another important. We'll see what Prabhupada says. That created the different elements of nuisance. Lord Brahma was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task, but he has to do it because most of the conditioned souls want it to be so. So another reason is because they want it, so he has to give. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he is present in everyone's heart and is helping everyone to either remember or forget. A question may be raised why Lord, who is all merciful, helps one to remember, another forget. Actually, his mercy is not exhibited in partiality towards one and enmity towards another. This is very important. So his mercy is not exhibited in partiality. The living entity as part and parcel of the Lord is partially independent, and because it partially possesses all the qualities of Lord, anyone who has some independence may sometimes misuse it due to ignorance. When the living entity prefers to misuse his independence and glide down towards the nuisance, all the merciful Lord first of all tries to protect him from the trap. But when the living entity persists in gliding down to hell, the Lord helps him to forget his real position. So it's living entity's desire that is facilitated. Lord helps the fallen living entity glide down to the lowest point just to give him chance to see if he is happy by misusing independence. Almost all the conditioned souls who are rotting in the material world are misusing their independence, and therefore 5 kinds of nuisance are imposed on them. I want to enjoy, I need facility. So Lord give this facility, take. You be in illusion. You have your mobile and be in illusion of watching all the movies, and then just be happy that. And why parents don't want children to watch movies all the time if it is giving pleasure? Because they know it's not actually reality. Children may be playing video games or watching TV. Parents don't want them to do all the time. Why? Because they know it's an illusion. It's not, you may think they're enjoying, but they know it's not actually the way that to be enjoyed. They want to come out of it. They want the children not to be in an imaginary world. Now, but Brahma also don't want all, we are his children. We are also in an imaginary world. But now, if the child is so much insisting, because now it's a vacation time, summer, all the parents have this big problem what to keep, what to do with the children. Because now they are so much insisting. I want to enjoy, I want to watch TV, I want to watch TV. Previously, it was not so much. Now it is so much. I want mobile, I want mobile. All the children who are like third, fourth, fifth class, all are fight for the mobile of their mother. They know father's mobile, they cannot take much. So mother's mobile, they know once mother is busy. They, now, why they want? They want to enjoy. Why mother don't want to give? Because she knows it's an illusory pleasure. Now, if the child is so much crying, so much insisting, what mother will do? She will give the mobile. Now, who gave the mobile? Mother. Who is responsible for them to be in illusion? Mother. But why did she do? Because the child is so much insisting. Now, is it the fault of mother or the child? Child only. Similarly, here, because the living entity want to enjoy, he want to misuse, then Lord has to facilitate. So through Brahma, he's facilitating. So what is the mistake in Lord? That's what here it is. He's not, his mercy is not exhibited in partiality towards one and enmity towards other. Every living entity is partially independent because it's partially possessing all the qualities of the Lord. So the Lord helps the fallen living entities to glide down to the lowest point just to give him the chance to see if he's happy. Living entity persists. See, this is the point. Living entity persists in gliding down to hell. The Lord helps him to forget his real position. Almost all the conditioned souls are rotting in the material world, are misusing their independence. Therefore, 5 kinds of needs are imposed on. They are like tools. They are like mobile for children. As an obedient servant of Lord, Brahma creates all these as a matter of necessity. See, but he is not happy in doing so because a devotee of Lord naturally does not like to see anyone falling down from his real position. Persons who do not care for the path of realization gets full facilities from the Lord for executing their proclivities in fullest extent. So what is he? Gets full facilities. So Lord gives the facilities also for forgetting. So Brahma helps in that preserve without fail. Shankam Shanakam cha Sanantam cha Sanatanam Atatmabu Sanatkumaram cha Muninam Nishkriyam Udvaretasaha. In the beginning, Lord Brahma created four great sages named Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Samatkumar. All of them were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated due to their semens flowing upwards. Prabhupada writes, although Brahma created the principles of nescience as a matter of necessity for those living entities who are destined to be conditioned by such ignorance by the will of Lord, Brahma was not satisfied in performing such thankless work. He therefore created four principles of knowledge. So now what Brahma did, because he is not satisfied, he thought, okay, I created nescience, let me create something to come out of it. So he created Sankhya, which is empirical knowledge, Sankhya, or the empirical philosophical philosophy for the critical study of material condition. First is Sankhya, then there is Yoga or mysticism for liberation of pure souls from the material bondage. Then Vairagya, the acceptance of complete detachment from the material enjoyment in life to elevate oneself to the highest spiritual understanding. And then Tapas, various kinds of voluntary austerities performed for spiritual perfection. So Sankhya, Yoga, Vairagya, and Tapasya. So Brahma created these four, and he entered, he entrusted, created four Sanat, Sanatan, Sanandan, Sanatman to entrust them with the four principles of spiritual advancement, and they inaugurated their own spiritual party or sampradayas known as Kumara Sampradaya, or at least or later on as the Nimbarka Sampradaya for advancement of Bhakti cult. All these great sages become great devotees of the Lord, for without devotional service to the personality Godhead, one cannot achieve success in any activities of spiritual value. They all became devotion. So devotional service is compulsory to attain perfection in Sankhya, Vairagya, Yoga, and Tapas. Tan abhav se स्वभ्यौ पुत्रान् प्रजान् सृजति पुत्रका तन्नैच्छन् मोक्षधर्मानो Vasudeva-parayana. Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. But due to their being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aimed at liberation and therefore they expressed their unwillingness. So this is the problem. Even Brahma cannot do the way he wants. He will have his own children disobeying. So this disobeying and not following orders is from the beginning of creation only. It is not just now. From the beginning of creation, people have these problems that some people listen, some people don't listen. And this is even Brahma also had to face this. And that too in the beginning only. Just the beginning of creation. The first creation disobeyed. Can you imagine? Because things in this world don't happen the way we want. This is the law of nature. Everybody have to accept reality. And everything happens according to time. Our Supreme Lord. For devotees. For outsiders, time. For devotees, it's the will of Supreme Lord. They have to accept either time or Supreme Lord. The four sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, declined to become family men even on the request of their great father Brahma. Those who are serious about gaining release from material bondage should not be entangled in the false relationship of family bondage. People may ask how the Kumaras could refuse the order of Brahma, who were their father and above all, the creator of the universe. The reply is that one who is Vasudeva Parayana or seriously engaged in devotional service of the personality of God, it Vasudeva, need not care for any other obligation. It is enjoyed in Bhagavatam. Devarshi Bhuta Pranam Vitrinam Nakinkaro Nayam Rinicha Rajan Sarvatmanaya Saranam Sharanyam Bado Mukundam Parityagutyam. Anyone who is completely given up all worldly relationship and have taken absolute shelter of the lotus feet of Lord, though who gives us salvation and who alone is fit to take shelter of, is no longer a debtor or servant of anyone else, including the demigods, forefathers, sages, other living entities, relatives, or human societies in general. Thus, there was nothing wrong in the acts of Kumaras when they refused their great father's request that they become family men. So the criteria is because they were very serious about, it is said, those who are serious about gaining release from material bondage should not be entangled false relationship in family bondage. So this is the criteria. If you are serious, then only do it. Otherwise, then there is other alternative ways. But this is recommended at some point of life, person should give up. Even if he's entering also, he cannot continue live like that. Not possible. Means he cannot make much advance. So Vyadyartha Suttair Evam Pratya Pratyakyatanusashanai Krodam Durvishaham Jatam Niyatum Upachakrame. On the refusal of the sons to obey the order of their father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control and not express. Even Brahma happened. So, first, what happened to Brahma? He identified, I am creator. And then Brahma created. So, created means he started thinking false proprietor. So, and then he ordered. That means he told, these are my children, they should obey my order. And that is what is called is illusion. What that we used? Yeah, deception. This is one type of deception. And then fourth one is now because they didn't hear to him, then what happened? Anger, because there is frustration. So even this ignorance is even Brahma also is affected by it. He is also frustrated. There is a deception. He has also is created. That means, of course, he is in this case of Brahma is a pure devotee. But still, this action, if that happens for a pure devotee, we understand that arrangement by Lord. But otherwise, it happens anybody in this material world is coming. If a living entity coming in this material world means he want to enjoy. Even Brahma had this view. That's why he became Brahmana. Why he has to come to material world? Of course, sometimes somebody comes to this material world as an agent of Lord to assist Lord in his Leela. But otherwise, most of the time, the living entity is coming into this material world to enjoy. If you want to enjoy, means you need these 5 types of ignorance. So either by Lord or Brahma, it is compulsory. So on the refusal of the sons to obey the order of their father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control and not express. So even Brahma is also frustrated. There is effect on him also. Brahma, that means any living entity want to enjoy. So Brahma also want to enjoy. What he want to enjoy? He want to enjoy creation. He want to enjoy and doing that service. It's actually such a, these pleasures are so subtle, so subtle. It gives almost like in the Brahmananda only. It is such a great pleasure. Brahma is the director in charge of mode of passion and material nature. Therefore, It is natural for him to become angry on the refusal of his sons to obey his order. Although Kumaras were right in such act of refusal, Brahma, being absorbed in mode of passion, could not check his passionate anger. He did not express this, however, because he knew that his sons were far enlightened in spiritual advancement, thus he should not express his anger before them. Now here, Brahma got affected, but he understood that, oh no, I should not do. And these people's, their body is not like our gross body, which is so earth, water, fire. They are much subtler bodies, and their enjoyment is also much subtler. We are we enjoy in a very gross way. That's why we cannot understand also what happens at that level. Brahma is doing this lila behind Va. It cannot be understood so easily because it's on a much subtler level, and he's giving up his body and other things. We cannot easily comprehend. We can understand, okay, something happened like that, but it's very difficult for us to comprehend. Like, if how many of you saw intelligence? We cannot see intelligence. And if we say Brahma's body is made of intelligence, what does it mean? So, what is intelligence and how some body can be made of intelligence? It's very difficult to comprehend only. So, but that's how it is. धिया निग्रह निग्र्यमाणोऽपि भूर्मध्यात् प्रजापते सद्यो जायत तन्मन्यु कुमारो नीललोहितः. Although he tried to curb his anger, it came out between his eyebrows, and a child of mixed blue and red hue was immediately generated. Oh, now it's all in a much, much subtler level, these things happen. But it is, we can understand something happened. And this is the pastime of the Lord to make Rudra appear. Every time he may appear different times, but this time he appeared like this. The face of anger is the same whether exhibited due to ignorance or knowledge. Although Brahma tried to curb his anger, he could not do so, even though he is a supreme being within this universe. Such anger, in its true color, came from between the eyebrows of Brahma or Rudra in a mixed color of blue, ignorance, and red passion, because anger is a product of passion and ignorance. So, सवैरुरोद देवानां पूर्वजो भगवान् भवः नाम्ना नाम्ने कुरु मे धाता स्थानानि च जगदो guru. After his birth, he began to cry, O destiny maker, teacher of the universe, kindly designate my names and places. Now I ask, Arey, why Shiva is crying? So, this is just a pastime. We cannot say Lord Shiva is crying. He knows what it is. He just appearing. इति तस्य वचः पार्थो भगवान् परिप्लायन अभ्यध्याद्भद्रया वाचा मारोदीस्तत्करोमि ते. That all-powerful Brahma, who was born from the lotus flower, pacified the boy with gentle words, accepting his request and said, Do not cry. I shall certainly do as you desire. Now, we see four Kumaras when they came, they are in full knowledge. And whereas when four Kumaras came, they are in full knowledge because Brahma created very consciously. Brahma created consciously. That's why they were in full. But when Shudra came, he was unconsciously created. He was created out of anger. And because of which, what happened is he also behaved in that particular way. Because if they are conscious, they also went for what? Self-realization. So they opted for self-realization because they are conscious. Rudra, when this form created, it was out of anger, unconsciously created, and he's crying. He's telling what to do, what not to do. That means the what do you call? If a person is ignorance, he cries. If we are crying means we are in ignorance. That's why Shudra means a person who cries is called Shudra. That means what? He lacks knowledge. Lacks means he has wrong knowledge. And because of which he cries. And if we want to help a Shudra come out, what we should do? Knowledge. That's why Arjuna was chastised by Krishna. Kutashva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam anarjishtum aswargam akirtikaram Arjuna. How come this impurity come upon? So Krishna chastised, Arjuna is crying properly. Krishna is like, how this kashmala, how this impurity come upon? Because you are Arya, anarya jishtum. Arya means a person with knowledge. Person with knowledge will not cry. And Kali Yuga people cry so much because they lack knowledge. Brahmana means he is not crying. So we have the story of Raika Muni. So there is a king who used to give so much charity, he does so many welfare activities and so many activities as things. And but he was not interested in any spiritual knowledge. The sages they decided somehow we have to enlighten this king. But he was already so much into all these charitable activities and he is not so much interested in any other spirituality. One day he was sleeping on his building, then the sages they transformed themselves into two birds and they started flying over the palace. And they started discussing with them in such a way that the king can hear in a human language. They said, "Oh, don't fly over this king. He is such a great person. He gives so much charity and he does so much welfare activities." The other bird said, who was a sage actually, in the guise of a bird, he said, "No, no, no, no. He is doing so much activity, but he don't have knowledge of self. That's why whatever charity and all activities he is doing, all the results are going to one Raikumani's kingdom. He is not getting the benefit." So when the king heard, he was really unhappy. He said, "Ore, what is this? I am doing so much and somebody else is getting the credit. Like somebody is working and salary is deposited in somebody, credited into somebody else's account. It's like that." Then morning he wakes up and he sends for searching for Raikumuni. Somehow he didn't get, but at last they found him. And he said he was busy, could not come. He was lying under a bullock cart. It was peaceful. And the king goes with some wealth and all, and he starts crying in front of this Raikumuni that no, I don't have knowledge about self. Whatever charity I'm doing, I'm not getting the credit, you are getting it. Then, interestingly, this Raikumuni says, "Arey, you are a Shudra, get lost from here." Now, why did he say Sudra as a king? Because he's lamenting. That's why he lack. Then again he comes, brings his daughter and so much charity, and then he says, "No, no, please accept and give me some knowledge." And it is said this daughter is considered to be heart. So he gave his heart to the sage, and the sage accepts, and then he enlightens him. Now the point is that we need knowledge. So that's why Janmana Jayate Shudra. From birth, everybody is in ignorance. But as soon as you get sanskara bhaved dvijaha, he gets sanskaras, he becomes dvija. Veda patat bhaved vipra. When he learns the Vedas, he becomes vipra. And Brahma janati ti brahmana. So a person who has this knowledge of Brahman, he is actually self-realized. So he does not cry because he understands the reality. Here, what it is to be understood that because the Kumaras are born in consciousness, they are fully conscious, and Brahma they appeared, then they are also going in that direction. If unconsciously this was coming out of ignorance and is crying, and this is actually what is happening because the mother, if why all this garbhadan samskara and all these things, because if they are consciously bring up the child, then the child also comes with full knowledge. Otherwise, if they are just watching TV and doing some nonsense, and the child comes very unconscious, and then he also does not interested, he is completely crying, his life will be full of crying. Arodhi surashreshta sodvega iva bhalaka tatastvam abhidhyasyanti namna rodra iti praja. Thereafter, Brahma said, "O chief of the demigod, you shall be called by the name Rudra." by all people because you have so anxiously cried. Now, this is one of the meaning of Rudra, is anxiously crying. And it's an indication actually. It's not every pastime has three levels. One is direct story, another is a metaphysical understanding of it, third is a spiritual understanding. So if you take in a direct level, it's a story, but in a subtle level, it is telling the truths of this world. If anything done unconsciously, it it cannot lead to anything good. It is cause of bondage and it's cause of anxiety. So here anxiously Rudra cried, Lord Shiva cried. And then Indriya. Okay, we'll end, I think. Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions, comments? We'll end here. Hare Krishna.